by himself. 20-17 in the fourth quarter of Game 3. It was the second time a Bucks player had 20 points in a quarter over the last 25 years. Middleton has both of them. For more on the Eastern Conference Finals, we have reports from both teams, starting with Tim Bontemps on Trae Young's injury.
Hawks coach Nate McMillan said Monday was a get what you need day for his team. What Atlanta really needed, though, was good news about Trae Young's sprained right ankle. An MRI revealed a bone bruise in Young's right foot, and the Hawks listed him as questionable for Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals Tuesday night against the Bucks. But that didn't change the level of concern Atlanta had about its star and his availability for the biggest game of the Hawks season. That's the head of our snake, Hawks forward John Collins said. That's the last thing I want to see. I hate to see it, and I'm just hoping and praying he's going to be okay. For more on the Bucks, here's Malika Andrews.
Tim, you mentioned the Hawks using the phrase head of the snake when talking about Trae Young. Well, the Bucks use that too, and they are preparing as if he is going to be out there for Game 4 because, as Giannis Antetokounmpo said, he is such a focal point of their offense, and they want the Hawks' best shot as they look to go up 3-1. And in order to do that, they're going to need to get off to a faster start. And Giannis Antetokounmpo said that comes one stop at a time, one possession at a time. They have been in this position before where they've been 2 wins away from the NBA Finals, and it hasn't gone their way. So they're not letting themselves look ahead too much as they look to rectify that history, Stephen A.
Thanks, Malika. Big Perk and Will Bond back with me right here. Perk, I'll come to you first. How much hope is left for the Hawks in this series, and what is it based upon?
Well, it's no hope, Stephen A., and I hate to say it. They just got to get on their knees and pray. For the simple fact that Trae Young, he has to be healthy. He's a small guard that relies on his speed, his quickness to get past bigger people. And when you have a guy like Drew Holiday guarding you, you need to be 100%. And right now, what Giannis is doing, attacking the paint, only took 2 3-point shots last night. He is dominating inside. And Lord knows, Chris Middleton, the performance he put on last night. All they need is for Drew Holiday to be consistent and come to the damn party. He played one of the worst games of his career last night on both ends of the floor. They get anything out of Drew Holiday, guess what? The Bucks in 5.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't even think they need Drew Holiday at this point. Not if Chris Middleton is shooting the basketball like that. If he's shooting the basketball like that and Giannis is attacking the basket, that's putting more pressure on the Hawks to hit their perimeter shots because it's the only hope they have, Will Bond, and I don't see much of it. I think it's Bucks in 5 as well. Where are you at with this?
You going to promise me that Giannis is going to play within 12 feet of the basket, or might he wander out and shoot 12 threes like we've seen him do in this postseason? Stephen A., if Giannis plays within 12 feet of the basket, 10, 12, 14 feet of the basket, and does what he did last night, of course they're going to win every game. But Milwaukee wanders away from its own formula.
Yeah.
They get happy shooting threes. Middleton doesn't even need to shoot that many threes.
Sure.
What, mid-range, in which he's one of the best people left, he and Booker in these playoffs at mid-range scoring. You mean to tell me they need threes to beat Atlanta? No. Atlanta's got to, as Perk said, Trae has got to be, 90% of himself in order for Atlanta to have a real chance. But I've got to see the Milwaukee Bucks stay with what they ought to do, and we haven't seen it. How about if Bobby Portis doesn't play for 2 or 3 games like it happened in the Brooklyn series? Bobby Portis had 15 points off the bench last night. Defensively, you can count on him to a great degree. Is he going to play? We have no idea what the Milwaukee Bucks are going to do from night to night. If they play like they did last night, that's the formula. They win the series easily.
The Milwaukee Bucks are in the Eastern Conference Finals, and we still got ourselves scratching our head at what we've seen Budenholzer do so far, particularly with Portis. Anyway, if the Bucks are going to win their first conference title since 1974, Giannis will continue to play a very, very major role. Here's our very own Kirk Goldsberry taking us off the charts.
The book on Giannis Antetokounmpo is a tale of 2 scorers. In the paint, it is the best of times. No active player combines volume and efficiency here as well as Milwaukee's MVP. This season, Giannis scored 17.6 points per game in the paint alone, converting 70% of his shots here. That's the best conversion rate in the league among players with at least 500 attempts. In the epic 7-game net series, Giannis joined Shaquille O'Neal as just the second player to score 150 paint points in a single playoff series over the last 25 postseasons.
And Antetokounmpo, flex on him.
No matter the pressure, no matter what's going on, we are built for this.
But here's the deal with Giannis. Outside of the paint, it's the worst of times. This season, he made a frosty 32.5% of his jumpers overall and just 30% of his threes, despite shooting mostly uncontested shots. Giannis has been the worst three-point shooter through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, converting only 19% of his threes. That's ice cold, folks. And then there are his free throw troubles on full display against Brooklyn when Giannis made less than half of his 60 free throws. If Atlanta wants to win this series, they need to keep Giannis away from the rim and turn him into a jump shooter and a free throw shooter. Easier said.
Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. CP3 is the closest he has ever been to an NBA Finals appearance. It's been 16 excruciating years, rife with disappointment, some due to play, some due to injury. But in the end, it does not matter. No matter how illustrious CP3's career has been, no matter the fact that he has been recognized as one of the greatest quintessential point guards this game has ever seen, all of that has amounted to nothing in his eyes because of moments like this that he has been deprived of. Yet tonight, he's 48 minutes away from his very first NBA Finals appearance. You can hear him knocking on the door, as he has done in the past. The difference is before he was hurt. This time he's healthy. He's ready to go. Now let's see if he answers the call. For more on tonight's game between the Clippers and the Suns, let's go to our reporters on the scene. Let's start with Dave McMenamin.
Chris Paul has the most All-Star selections, All-NBA selections, and career points of any player to have never played in the NBA Finals. It's been 16 long years, and Paul said he can wait a little longer, saying he will not think about the final stage, quote, until the job is done. Paul said he is laser focused heading into tonight's Game 5 against the Clippers, and his Suns teammates are focused on propping him up as well. Devin Booker said he knows how much Paul wants it and added, quote, "We have his back." Now for a report on the Clippers, let's go to Om Youngmisoo.
Thanks, Dave. Erasing a 3-1 deficit has only been done 13 times ever. But Ty Lue did it with the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 2016 NBA Finals. I asked Lue what can he take from the comeback to help the Clippers. He said it starts by winning the first quarter of Game 5 and taking it quarter by quarter. Lue remembers LeBron James setting the tone for the Cavs by scoring 12 of his 41 points in the first quarter of Game 5. Tonight, Paul George knows he can't miss 6 of 7 three-pointers in the first quarter like he did in Game 4. Otherwise, that could be the Clippers season. Back to you, Stephen A.
Thanks, Ohm. We've got a champion in the house in Kendrick Perkins, a Hall of Famer right next to me, and Mike Wilbon. Perk, I'll go to you first. What should we expect from CP3 tonight?
I expect CP3 to come out and lead his troops. He's going to come out with a killer mindset, Stephen A. and Mike Wilborn. When you think about his post-game interview with Rachel Nichols, and she asked him about being up 3-1, what did he say? I don't want to talk about it because I have had bad experiences being up 3-1. That means to tell me that he's locked in, he's focused. I expect CP3 to bring the intensity. I expect them to bring.
Wilbon, I'll ask you. What are your expectations for CP3 tonight?
I expect him to lead the Suns out of this sort of offensive malaise that they've been in, Stephen A. Which means himself first, right? I mean, he and Devin Booker, I mean, these are as good players as there are in the league in terms of poise in difficult circumstances. By the way, they've avoided an elimination situation so far in this postseason. They haven't even had that. I expect to see those guys play with a lot more calm and purpose offensively, while still playing with the kind of defense they were in the first half when they held the Clippers down in Game 4. I expect to see that tonight.
Wilbon, I want to transition to another question to you because obviously I've been dying to ask you this question. CP3, at this stage and point in his career, in his life, he's made it this far. Once upon a time, he was playing with Blake Griffin. That didn't work out. Was playing in Houston with James Harden. That didn't work out. Both wanted to part ways with him and vice versa, it seems. How should they look right now in light of the fact that CP3 is knocking on the door and about to make the NBA Finals?
That's a great question. But let me answer it this way. Even Chris Paul has said, and Chris and I are working on a project together, his book together, that I'm the editor for. And we talked about a million things over these past few months. And one of the things Chris says, he is self-examining. He is self-critical. And I don't hear a word of him blaming the players that it didn't work out with.
True.
If they didn't make it all the way. He never does it.
He's
not on the record, not off the record. He doesn't do it. He examines himself. He's changed everything. His workout regimen, his diet, his attitude about certain things. And even Devin Booker jokingly says he can be tough to take, meaning the leadership part, that where Chris Paul he can't be easy. It's got to be difficult. And they talk about that. But Chris applies it to himself and the current team. I know he's been tough on DeAndre Ayton, particularly earlier in the year.
Well, it's worked, damn it.
It worked.
22 rebounds in the last
maybe,
shoot 70% from the field.
Maybe that's where some of those other former teammates ought to say, well, maybe it would have worked if we kept at it. I have never heard one time Chris Paul blame the guys you've talked about for them not getting over the hump and into the championship round.
Perk, I'll go to you. James Harden, Blake Griffin, former teammates of CP3. As you said, Wilbon just explained, CP3 doesn't talk bad about them and vice versa to their credit. How are they looking right now if CP3 ends up going to the finals? Real quick.
Well, they looking crazy for the simple fact that CP3 is a guy that holds people accountable. All right, he's a guy that leads by example. He is a winner, and if you can't handle CP3, then you're just a soft-minded and not mentally tough. CP3 could have went anywhere this offseason. He could have got bought out. He could have went to the Lakers. He could have went anywhere. He chose to go to the Phoenix Suns with Monty Williams and a young core because he knew that they would embrace him with open arms.
Well, listen, I'll give CP3 all the credit in the world for that, Perk and Mike Wilbon, because he did make that choice, and obviously before he was traded to Phoenix. But let's not forget he is getting over $40 million. That is an incentive. Let's not act like that.
A few other places,
I understand
but he did choose to get it here.
$40 million with less state income tax. Anyway, let's move on. Coming up next, all right?